All right, welcome to episode 13 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series. We're at the right round kick, one of my favorite weapons to throw, and a weapon I am known for. I'm known for my rear low kick, but it's the same kind of mechanics, and we're gonna focus on the body kick today because it's a kick that you use more often, whether you're starting on a bag, whether you're starting a beginner's kickboxing program, or it's your first day at a gym. They're gonna throw body kicks. I will touch upon the low kicks and high kicks later down in the series, but right now we're focusing on the body kick. And just like all of the other parts of the series, we're really focusing on our footwork. So we're gonna start with our feet and work our way up explaining this power round kick. And as I mentioned, it's a power round kick. So the style that I'm teaching is the style that's gonna get the most power in the kick. And it all starts from our footwork. So from the earlier episodes, you know what a defensive and an offensive stance is. And you want to start more in your defensive stance. This way you're able to block and control your footwork. Now to get a good kick, you really need to step and get that momentum in the legs. So you're going to watch my step. And I like to use lines on the floor. This way it teaches you to know how to step and return, because enter and exit on any strike and any technique is very important. So I'm in my defensive stance. This way I can block. Now I'm stepping and I'm lengthening my stance. And that's one of the keys to a good round kick, is the lengthening of the stance. If I kick from a short stance, it's more of a forced kick with my hip. But to get that power kick I'm talking about, you need to step, lengthen the stance, and this way you can launch your kick with full power and full range of momentum. And I explain it like hitting a baseball. If you're playing baseball and you want to hit a home run, you're not going to hit a home run by bunting the ball or staying short. You really need to, use your body, use your rotation in order to get full power. And that's called transfer of force. So with the step, I'm using the power in my legs to bring it up to my hip to be able to turn and return to my stance. So when talking technically, when I step, I'm pushing off my rear calf, and that's the key in order to get that momentum coming forward. So I step, I'm on the ball of the foot, I'm really digging the ball of my foot into the ground, making good connection to the floor. Boom, my heel's off the ground. My knee is on top of my foot. I'm not stepping too far in front because then I'm not gonna have balance. So I'm stepping, knee on top of the foot, I'm on the ball of my foot, good connection to the floor. Now I'm pushing off the rear calf, and I'm lifting my body up. So this way I'm lifting my body up and I am rotating. I don't want to lean too far back because my balance off, and I'm not bringing the weight of my kick, of my body into the kick. So I want to keep and think pulling my body up, like someone's pulling a string from my head and I'm rotating at the same time. So I'm up and rotating, and I'm making sure I stay on the calf throughout the kick. A big problem when people kick is they don't return their foot back to where the initial starting position was. So what happens is they kick and then they fall down and then they have to bring their foot down. That shows a lack of control in your technique and your footwork. And so you really have to stay on that calf. So defensive stance, I'll run it through you one more time. Defensive stance, I step, ball of the foot, push off my rear calf, and from here I'm gonna pull my shoulder. As I pull this shoulder, this hip opens up, and I get good rotation. Staying on this calf so I can kick and return right back. Do not kick and drop your heel. You're gonna end up losing balance and you're gonna fall in this position and not in your long, good framework stance. A new tool I've been using with my kickboxers, because I come from a Taekwondo background, is one of these little kick pads. I don't even know what they're called, but it's a good way to teach not overthrowing the kick, because a lot of times when people kick, and you're going to see it with shadow boxing a lot, they shadow box, and every time they kick, they're every time spinning around. So this little drill teaches that you don't always have to spin all the time. There's different ways. So I can kick and return. I can kick through, step and come back, or I can kick right through. So those are the three different ways you can control after the kick. So kick, return, kick just slightly over and back, and then right through. So this teaches the whole kick and return style, and it gives a little bit of snap. And a lot of kickboxers who don't have traditional martial arts background have really tight hips. So this is a good way of strengthening and loosening up the hips. It's helped my guys tremendously. So here's Troy just working kick and return style rather than falling forward. I can even mix it with a jab, change levels. Work flexibility by even trying to force them to go as high as possible. Really get them to stretch that hip out. Now while Troy's here, if you're newer to kickboxing and your hips might not be as flexible as you would like, sometimes it's okay to start with a low kick on the pad. So I can literally hold the pad to my leg here and get your beginners who may have even tight hips. Even hitting a body for some beginners who are watching the series are going to have a hard time. So start with low kicks, build that flexibility, build that strength in the hip up. So a simple way is here. Good. Then you have your traditional Thai pads, and then if you're good, you can even mix in high kicks with the pad. Okay, so I have Troy now. Very long fighter, very good at using kicks on the outside, so this is why I'm using him for this drill. We're going to set up the right kick. This is just going to be a little bit more of an intermediate drill. We'll start with the kick, and then we're going to mix in some punches and different ways to drill after. So the first basic thing you can do to make sure they're in a defensive stance, I could throw a leg kick, Troy's going to block. Now he's in his defensive position. Now he's going to step, launch, and then throw. Watch the lengthening of the stance to give him that powerful momentum. Okay, put it together. Now, I'm not going to go too advanced with the setups because a video in the next 2 or 3 videos, we're going to start talking about combination fighting. But the most basic way to set up your rear power kick is with your lead hand. That's the most basic, the most elementary. So it's going to be jab to round kick. I'm not going to get into too much detail, but that step is just going to be with the jab. As he steps with the jab, he does not move that front foot anymore. So he steps and he pauses, boom. Now, he's not moving that foot. That foot stays there. From here, he's going to launch. Put it together. A little harder way, a little bit more advanced, he can throw the opposite hand, return back, and then kick. It's a little bit slower, but it's good to work both sides. So that's punch to kick. Now we're going to do kick to punch, because right from the beginning as a beginner, I like to make sure my athletes, my people at my gym know how to punch to kick and kick to punch. So we're going to start right away by kick to hook. Good. So now I want him to kick, plant, and then step with the hook. Kick, plant, step with the hook. Good. If you other way, you can do a right hand. This way it reinforces him to kick, plant, and throw again. So kick, puts his foot down, right hand. Boom. Forces him to bring that kick back faster. Now let's just flow a little bit. One of my favorite weapons, kick, punch, kick. Hook. Good, and repetition, very basic ways. Make sure you put that volume in. I'll literally count my guys down. 10, 9, 8, 7. Get that repetition in the kick. Also, I'm going to get Troy on the other side. It's also important to work the opposite side. I'm going to say 80-20 as a beginner. 80% he's going to use his power side, but 20% he should start working his opposite stance, because it's going to help him develop his kick and teach him to fight from both sides. This here we'll say a little bit more basic on his southpaw side. Okay, I have Matt Special behind me. He's working on the bag. He's a southpaw, so it's going to be his rear kick. So he's using his left kick. Here he's just flowing on the bag. Different ways of mixing in this kick. He's using punch to kick. I also want him to add kick to punch. Always varying punch to kick to punch, or kick, punch, kick. More power, Matt. Matt's staying active with straight punches, mixing in his kick. The good thing about the bag, you can start introducing level change. So Matt's gonna hit body, Matt's gonna hit low kick, and he's gonna hit high kicks, changing all levels in his kick. Okay, so one of our favorite tools to develop our kicks and our power here at Bazooka Kickboxing is the wall bag. And as you can tell from our pivot points that we like to use this, and we've been pivoting. I've been pivoting on this pivot point for the last 12, 13 years. So one of my favorite spots. And it's very important to work on hitting a target that doesn't move. This way you can control your range, you can get full power into it. So right now I'm just gonna flow with the bag. I'm gonna mix in different ranges. I'm gonna throw low kicks, body kicks, and high kicks. So here's a little bit of flow. Make sure every so often you go to your opposite side and throw some kicks from here. Okay, so a very important concept, as I just mentioned, is the footwork. And I'm using this little T-line here to improve our step in our kick, because that's very important. So when we talk about center line stepping for the kick, there's two ways I really want you to throw the kick. You can step on the line, so I'm stepping over, so defensive, offensive. And now that I'm over, you can stay on center line to throw your kick and come back. But the key to me to get good power is you need to open up that hip. So if I'm here on center line, I want to step to the left of the center line. This way here, I can kick through the target. If I step on this side of it, you're gonna notice I'm gonna get that bent hip that I don't want. So I'm here behind the line. I wanna step to the left of the line. This way I can kick through the target and I can get my hip involved in the kick. Same thing, if I am a southpaw now, I don't wanna step to the left, I wanna step over to the right. This way I can kick through the target, boom, and get more weight and more power behind the kick. So stepping center line or just off to open up your hip to get more power. Okay, now we're gonna discuss some common mistakes. Start from the feet, work our way up. The first thing, as I mentioned when explaining the technique, is overstepping. You're stepping too close to the target where you're having to lean back. That exposes your chin, throws you off balance. So try to keep your weight on top of your front leg more. So when you kick, your weight's forward. That's actually gonna put more weight into your kick, which is gonna give you more power. The other thing that happens is we step on the ball of the foot, good step, and now all of a sudden people aren't comfortable, so they're gonna step again to get closer. Trust your step. If you're stepping here, you need to launch from here. Don't get scared and be like, oh, I'm too far to reach again. Really reach and extend with that hip in order to get good power. I wanna see the end position where you're in a straight line. If you're kicking and you're not pivoting enough, you're gonna end up with your hip bent and you're leaking power on the hip. So make sure when you do step, you're nice and long and you reach with that hip. That's why you need that extra range. When you're too close, it causes a little bend in your hip. So again, I'm looking for full extension all the way throughout in the final kick. Another error people make with their feet is when they pivot, boom, they drop their heel. So what happens now, they can't counterbalance themselves and put them in their stance. So they'll kick, put their heel down, and then they have to readjust. You need to be able to kick and come right back into the position that you started. Start, bang, see I'm on my calf still, nice and long, full extension. I bring it right back. The other common mistake now, number 2, so that's our stepping. Number 2 is the flight path return. People like to kick and then they bring it so slow down on the other side. The way I like to throw it is after the kick comes, boom, you pull it right back down. This way your hand's positioned ready to fight. You can block, defend. So make sure kick, boom, the kick return comes back. Mistake number 3 is going to be our shoulder position. We're keeping our shoulders too square when we kick. What happens if we stay too square? That hip bend happens again and we're not getting rotation. It's going to stop us from pivoting. So as I step, make sure I pull this shoulder and it throws the hip. This way I can get my whole body into the kick. So pull that shoulder back as you kick, opens up the hips. Hand position, I don't mind whether you keep it planted or if you add the one hand out. I'm okay with both. Both have different purposes. Both are better in some situations over the other.